Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Virgo energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Virgo energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy kind of Virgo energy. Because we all have our dualistic nature. We have free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And we could want to do life differently, having more in high vibe, having hope and faith and belief in ourselves and facing our fears and offering ourselves love and encouragement. But we also have our more shadowy worldly nature, which can be we're fearful of change. We'd rather stay in our comfort zone. um, it's kind of wanting to keep doing things the way we've done it and have it work out the way we want it to work out. But even in the face of it not working out, we can keep staying in situations, right? And some people could, there's different types of people in the world. There's some people that are always motivated to heal and grow and mature themselves, because shadowy energy can be these things that manipulate us, like our fear and our insecurity and our immaturity and our lust and our greed and our laziness and things like that. And there's some people who don't like those things manipulating them. So they periodically do the inner work to free themselves and work through those things. And then there's other people in the world, it does take work and effort. And Virgo energy is about looking at those things we'd rather maybe keep hidden in the dark. Don't want to put in the time, energy, and effort to work through those things. And so some people will keep repeating a pattern and a way of living life and viewing life because it just does take work and effort to work through it, and they would rather not. And our shadow nature can be, I have an idea, instead of doing that, let's do this instead. I'm sure this will work out just as good. But so we could go indulge ourselves in different things. Our shadow nature, the big picture, is kind of represented by the devil. All these things we could go indulge ourselves in the world, even if it's our defensiveness or our ego or our sadness or whatever, because then we don't have to do the work to work through it to free ourselves from it. High Vibe Virgo is about dealing with the truth and learning the lessons we were meant to learn so we can move forward in life differently. And there's always going to be people that are on opposite sides of the spectrum because we live in a world of duality. And then there's going to be the people that, we're just not on the same page at the same time. We can be ready to kind of move forward. We've healed something and changed in some way our perspective on life. And when we have done that, maybe some other people haven't, but they might later. So, it's just dealing with the truth of the situation, not getting in our pride and ego, which is what the bottom row can mean about it, accepting the truth that people are where they're at, wish people peace, live your truth. They're going to live their truth as they see it and invest their time and energy in their Virgo nature into the things that, we all viewed life a certain way at different times in our life. And I use when we were young as an example because we can all really relate to it. When we were 15, when we were 18, when we were 21, when we were 25, we viewed ourselves, we viewed the world, we viewed others, we viewed relationships a certain way, and we all kind of transitioned into growing and healing, maturing ourselves at different times in life, right? And so when we were ready to kind of detach from an old way of living life, and we kind of didn't want to invest in that way of living life, because we had kind of learned lessons. We did view life differently. We were ready to move forward and face our fears to live life differently. And when we were ready to do it, some other people weren't. So let's go look at the bottom row first. We have the Temperance card, which is a major arcana card, a universe card, basically talking about the Temperance of Sagittarius energy, which is we've all got lessons to learn in life. And we all get motivated, because Sagittarius is fire sign energy. We all get motivated and inspired to maybe put in the work and effort and work through some of those issues when we're ready. And then with this being like a universe card, it's kind of like the divine is there working with everyone to try to help them balance out their emotions and believe in themselves. But everybody's got free will. And when people are ready to move forward in life differently, they will. When they're not, they won't. And they could just be trying to balance out their emotions about the way they live their life. Just like we did at different stages of life, right? So then we have the Six of Swords, the Page of Swords, the Hierophant, and then we have the Ace of Swords, which is like the truth. And I also view the Ace of Swords as like harnessing all three of the air sign energies of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, which has to do with what our truth is and what we love and what we're aligned with, because Gemini has to do with our free will nature and kind of what our dreams are. And then the Six of Swords is Aquarius energy, which can have to do with what our dreams are. And in our Page of Swords energy, which also can represent all three of the air sign energies, we have a way of viewing life, our truth, what we love, what we think is just and fair, what we think is the dream life, and, you know, we're going to move forward in that truth because that is our truth at whatever stage of life we're at, you know, in our emotional maturity and all those things, right? And then the Hierophant can represent, you know, this philosophy of life that we have. The Hierophant is like the Supreme Court in our own head. You know, the page can mean, you know, that we have lessons to learn in life. We all have had lessons to learn in life. And as we move forward in life, you know, as we move forward and we kind of put into practice, because Taurus of the Hierophant is earth sign energy, investing time and energy into certain things, you know, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. You know, are we willing to temper our fears and our insecurity or our ego? We move forward in a certain way, but maybe what we were striving for is kind of eluding us because of some philosophy of life that we have. And Taurus energy can kind of represent kind of all these institutions of the world. You know, we were all brought up in families, and our family has a certain way of viewing life. And they make decisions in their life based on their philosophy of life. And sometimes we can have other people in our life that it's kind of hard to maybe live our more authentic life, because high vibe energy is about being more independent, loving yourself, believing in your dreams. You know, the Hierophant can represent the world. It's all these different institutions of the world that can, in a shadowy energy, kind of stop us from living our truth. And then we just try to balance out our emotions that, you know, we could have these other people in our life, the world, we live within the world tells us we should live our life a certain way, we should act a certain way, we should dress a certain way. And, you know, you could look at all the different religions of the world and, you know, because the Hierophant can represent religion too, you know. It's kind of like, are we willing to be a spiritual leader in the world? What is our philosophy of life? You can't wear this. You must wear that. You can dance. You can't dance. You have to cover up your head. You shouldn't cover up your head. You should have clothing that comes down to your ankles and your wrists and up to your neckline. Or you should be able to wear, you know, what is our truth? What is our philosophy of life? And I kind of think that being free is adhering to a higher truth and justice, because shadowy energy can be these things that are oppressive and confining and limiting and restricting. And if we take action in truth and love and justice and fairness and we're treating other people the way we want to be treated, and we're respecting other people as their own individuals, and they have their own philosophy of life, however they want to live it. That's fine. You do you, I'll do me. Can we all still work together in communities and organizations and workplaces and family dynamics? In general, we can get along with a lot of different people, but people that we are willing to be maybe in a more involved relationship with, these different philosophies of life, of what we think is right and wrong and just and fair, and if we're not on the same page, it can be hard to overcome those things because they are so ingrained within us. Depending on where you grow up and what state, what country, what religion, the kind of people that you hang out with. Even friend groups have a certain way of acting and interacting, and sometimes these things of the world can try to be making us more conform, and that's when the page can be more like, you should listen to me. And sometimes people just have people in their life like, I'm older and wiser than you, and you shouldn't listen to your own intuition, and you shouldn't become independent of me. You should stay codependent on me. You should look to me as your source of guidance or your stability and security. Because Taurus can kind of represent those things. But we can have people in our life, in our family, and their philosophy of life could be different than our philosophy of life. And, say they like to make their life with Aquarius energy in shadow. It can be more about making your life more about the world. The most important thing is for you to look like a shining star in the world. Or, that we present ourselves as these certain type of people. Shadowy Hierophant can be people who like to present themselves as these pillars of society, and we do this, and we belong to this organization, and we go do this activity every week, because that is what makes us look like a shining star in the world, and people will view us a certain way. Are they even doing it because it's their truth? Is it what they even want to be doing? But it's all these things people do so that people will view them a certain way, and thinking if they present themselves as those type of people and live their life this certain way and wear these certain clothes or act this certain way or hang out with these people and not those people, or have this type of status or image versus that type of status or image. And some people are more codependent on the world and on other people. And all those things can manipulate them. And it kind of stops them from living their authentic truth. And some people have learned more of those lessons in life that they have already freed themselves from those things, It can be all these rules and regulations. You should do this, you should do that. Only go there if these people are there, but if those people aren't there, then you don't want to go there, because then what would people think? But if those people are there, then it's okay if you're there. It's just kind of seems like a bunch of bullshit, right? How about I just go live my authentic life? And people can judge away. But that's the problem that a lot of people have. What would people say? What if people who act a certain way, dress a certain way, believe a certain way, and I'm out here kind of doing my own thing? Well, for one, some of those people might turn their back to you because you are stepping outside their comfort zone. They don't do that. You shouldn't do that. You should be more codependent. You should listen to these people. You should conform to the world. You should listen to me. And there's some kind of shadowy people in the world that almost do think they should be like God in your life, and you should be more codependent on them, and you shouldn't listen to your own intuition, and you shouldn't love and believe in yourself and believe in your own dreams. You should live your life like they live their life. But it's like, if you're going to try to balance things out with people, which is what the Temperance card could talk about, With the Temperance card being fire sign energy, we can be attracted to people. We could like people. There could be a lot of things we do have in common. But again, high vibe Virgo energy that any of us can tap into is about respecting everyone as their own individual. Can there be a lot of things I like about a certain group of people or person in my life? Yeah. But do you respect me as my own individual who has my own dreams and aspirations, and my own high vibe Virgo too can be about, the pentacles can talk about like your own unique gifts that you've been given, and say someone grew up in a family where everyone does a certain type of work. Maybe they're accountants or lawyers or doctors, and it's like, I really want to be a painter or a musician. It's like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. What would people say? You need to do this, and you should make your life more about looking like a shining star in the world. And it's like, but I have a dream, and I do kind of have that hopeful, believing spirit. And then in high vibe Taurus energy, I am willing to put in the work and effort, having hope and faith and belief in my dreams, and I've kind of balanced out my emotions about the world, and I want to go live my truth. Well, some people don't like that, And if they balance out their emotions about the fact that they don't live their authentic truth, well, then they can have a problem if other people go live their authentic life. Because again, it could cause them some mental conflict about how they live their life. So the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, which is about mental conflict. And if some people were in relationships with people who are more, maybe look at life as an adventure to be lived, which is where you do learn lessons, and you do have hope and faith and belief in your dreams, and you do have that hopeful, believing spirit, and you try to look at life from a higher perspective so that the world and all these different people in the world who try to tell you you should live your life like this and you should live your life like that. And it's like, you can kind of see through the illusion, because high vibe energy also is about dealing with the truth, being inspired to listen to your intuition and love to guide you and truth to guide you, instead of letting these kind of different institutions of the world or people in our life. Because that negative energy and people who harness a more shadowy or a bossy or stubborn, or they've got all their rules and regulations in their head, that is how they live their life. And sometimes it's like those people decide, it causes me mental conflict to be in a relationship with people who kind of view life differently than me. I'm going to move away from them, because my truth is I maybe am more about conforming to the world, or making my life more about status or ego or image or me. And I might not want to see the truth of any of those things. And if I can look to this way of viewing life as justification for me not being maybe more just or more fair or more loving or more balanced, or, it can all be a justification for why I don't move forward in a more balanced, authentic, loving way. Because Gemini, air sign energy, is about love. Aquarius energy and high vibe is looking at life from a higher perspective and putting things in perspective, and shining your light in the world, not hiding your light underneath a bushel basket to conform to the world. And some people are more codependent than other people on people in their life and the world. Some people have kind of worked through that to be more independent and stand up for their truth. And of course, the truth would be conveyed by the King and the Queen of Swords, which is Libra and Aquarius energy, air sign energy. And we can have a harsh, critical inner voice that's like, you should do your life like this. And, part of it can be to protect you. And some people do have a harsh, critical inner voice. Some people have other people in their life that are harsh and critical. And some people have been being very patient with people, hoping maybe one day they would change. And they can all move forward together a little differently. But if those people aren't willing to change, and they might not be willing to change, we can have things, throughout history, we've had things go on in society because of a certain philosophy that people have, and other people are kind of like, I don't think that's just and fair. You might think that's just and fair, and you try to tell me it's just and fair. And people can be patient for a long time, but eventually, if you realize that some people, why do some people definitely not want to change? And we kind of think they're a little shadowy, which is bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical or stubborn or lazy or self-indulgent or whatever, abusive, because it benefits them. They don't want it to change, because then it would maybe require that they look at life differently, that they, shadowy energy could be that people are kind of tipped out of balance, and they'd have to get more balance within themselves, kind of indulging poor behavior in themselves and others, to get more balance within themselves and require things to be more just and fair. Well, for some people, if they had to be more just and fair, then it kind of wouldn't be more about indulging them in their more immature way of being, or self-centered, or egoic, or stubborn, or materialistic, or whatever way of living life. And it would have to be more just and fair. And some people are like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep doing this. And if we're in workplaces or friendships or relationships with people like that, eventually we can we don't want to go, because we'd all like things that we've invested in to work out the way we want, but it kind of gets to be where you see the truth, that their kind of philosophy of life and what drives and motivates them, and what their idea of the dream life is and the dream relationship is, and if it's more about them or the world, is kind of different than your truth. It's like high vibe energy is about, and high vibe Virgo is about balance. It's like operating. Taurus is also represented by the Five of Pentacles. We live in the world, there's things of the world that we want, and Taurus and the Five of Pentacles can talk about, we want stability and security, and we'd all like to enjoy some of the finer things in life. Well, some people are so consumed with that they're willing to turn their back on the truth. I will sacrifice love. I will sacrifice being in a more just and fair or loving job, friendship, or relationship, because I'm more driven by these things of the world. And that is shadowy Taurus energy, where high vibe Taurus energy is where you walk the talk. Shadowy Taurus energy can be, well, I think it's more transactional. And if I might have more of these things of the world, or you want to be in a relationship with me because I'm attractive, or I got social clout, or whatever I got, right? Whoever thinks that they have more of what some people could want, they could think then that other people should just balance out their emotions about being in a relationship with them, because they kind of think they're the shining star for some reason, right? And then some people who, either they have the money, the status, the power, the social clout, they kind of want those things too. And if together between the two of them, or groups of people, that is their truth, well, in high vibe or in a world of duality, you're always going to have some more people that are more stubborn and prideful and immature and egotistical, bossy, controlling, more materialistically driven or self-indulgent driven. And you're always going to have other people in the world that are kind of on the opposite side of the coin. And high vibe energy is like, I do want these things in the world just like everyone else, but I also, equally as important to me, is to be in just and fair and stable and grounded and loving and authentic and encouraging relationships. And I'm not willing to sacrifice more of those things in order to have these things. I'm not willing to tip out of balance more in favor of those things of the world. If anything, I'm willing to give up some of those things to tip a little more in balance in favor of truth and love and all those things, because it's kind of what you value. And love is the highest energy of all. And being in jobs that you love, in friendships with people and that are just and fair and loving, that's what makes us feel more balanced. It's in the energy of love that we kind of thrive within. And I'm not willing to just keep balancing out my emotions to kind of indulge someone who really isn't more motivated by those things. Your truth is different than my truth. And so some of you could have already gotten out of some relationships like that. Some people are just getting out of some relationships like that. And it does take kind of having to try to balance out your emotions about it. The reason for the top rose reading is the Seven of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. And it's the reason why the reading came out. And Seven of Cups, we are these emotionally complex human beings. And the Seven of Cups talks about that. It is confusing. Us having our dualistic nature, everybody else having their dualistic nature. It's confusing, and we're emotionally complex human beings, and we can have all these conflicting thoughts towards people. They really make me mad, but I love them. They are so stubborn or so arrogant or so whatever, but we can still have love for them, right? And the truth is, the truth will set us free. That we offer love to it and to ourselves to help us work through the emotional confusion. But with the Seven of Cups being the reason why the reading came out, is you might have harnessed your Scorpio energy differently. And high vibe Scorpio is about, I am this emotionally complex human being, and I do kind of want to explore the mysteries of life and understand myself better. And I also want to experience the highs. And I know if I go and experience the highs, like love, not everything works out the way that I want. And that means I'm going to have to go through the lows also. So it's kind of like getting on the roller coaster of life, right? I am willing to get on that roller coaster. And other people are like, no, that's all too confusing. That is not my truth. And they might like to keep their emotions, shadowy Scorpio can be, I like to keep my emotions more buried beneath the surface. I do find them emotionally confusing. I don't like doing the highs and lows. I am not willing to explore the mysteries of life. I'm okay, kind of, so long as if I'm in a relationship, which is what Taurus Hierophant can represent, and if it seems to be going along okay and we get along okay, maybe it is a little out of balance. Maybe it's not so just and fair. Maybe it's not really what I dreamed of, but by worldly standards, I look like a shining star. I look victorious and successful. There's money, there's stability. Is love that important? And if I think, and some of those people, they would be willing to kind of indulge someone in their poor behavior for these things that drive and motivate them. And then if they're the ones who they think in their mind have more of these things that people could want, then they think other people should balance out their emotions about them being a little immature or bossy or controlling or something like that, right? And shadowy Scorpio can kind of be this black and white way of thinking, you know? And some people just aren't very balanced within themselves. You know, you either have to be practical and logical or make your life about the world, or you got to give all that up and do love. It's like, well, no, we've all kind of probably been in relationships with people who we could have a lot of love for, but they're not stable, they're not grounded, they're not practical. It's like, you know, it is people learning these lessons to be more balanced within themselves. Oh, I live in the world and I have to put in some work and effort to maintain some stability and security in my life, and work together cooperatively with people so I don't like keep getting fired from jobs and stuff like that. And I've got to work, you know, some people could be a very I don't know, could they be a very loving, giving person? I suppose they could be, but there could equally be tipped out of balance. Like, I've made this so important that I've kind of neglected these other aspects of my life. But as time goes by, we kind of see the truth and we kind of see through the illusion. High vibe energy is about being balanced. I do want these things of the world. It's important for me to invest in my emotional nature, my creative, inspired nature, my worldly nature, my truth, justice, fairness, because I do have my truth. I do have my emotions. I do have my thoughts. I do have my passionate, creative, inspired nature. I do have want for some stability and security in my life. They're equally as important. And sometimes we all, in different ways, could have been codependent on other people to kind of provide the missing things for us. And that's kind of too when we can kind of get in a more mismatched relationship. One person could be more loving and encouraging and balanced. They could get in a relationship with someone who maybe isn't as balanced or as loving, but they might have a lot of stability or security. One person could be more introverted, one person could be more extroverted, you know. And it can be in a lot of ways a beneficial experience for both people. But eventually, as time keeps going by, we have to navigate all these different things in relationships with people to kind of negotiate and come into agreement on. And eventually you can be in these different type of relationships that you have where it kind of does get down to the last truth, the last hurdle to overcome, to see if you can keep moving forward in the relationship. And that's why some relationships will end. Both people could have enjoyed the relationship, but when it kind of got to be maybe in your Scorpio energy, your Virgo energy, and your Sagittarius energy, I'm just kind of thinking because Sagittarius is a mutable sign. Scorpio's fixed sign, Taurus is fixed sign, Aquarius is fixed sign. You know, it can be hard to, again, we have this way of living life, this way of viewing life, the way of viewing ourselves, viewing others, how we view relationships. One person's truth is they either could be more shallow, superficial, stubborn, unwilling to budge, unwilling to change, unwilling to step out of their comfort zone, could be a little more immature. And other people are kind of, I don't want to stay somewhere where nothing ever changes. We kind of did maybe all grow and mature ourselves in different ways, but I'm kind of starting to feel and maybe my intuition and everything, that it's time to move forward a little differently. And I think high vibe people would offer that love and encouragement to the people in their life, to offer them love and encouragement, to work through their emotional confusion and their fears and their insecurities and self-learning beliefs, to go on the adventure with you. And that's when some people are like, that's not my truth, and I'm not willing to do that. It would require me to step out of my comfort zone to, the Seven of Cups comes after the Six of Cups, and the Six of Cups can be, I have this pattern, this way of being emotionally. It makes me feel maybe balanced and stable, and I like repeating this pattern. I don't have a problem staying here. I could maybe do this the rest of my life. And other people are like, but you're kind of not, I don't know, it's kind of like growing to your full potential and emotionally maturing yourself more and being a little more bold and brave and confident. And so sometimes it's like comparing the roller coaster to people who want to stay on the merry-go-round of life. And it might just be because I find it more emotionally confusing, and I view the sevens as tipping into one way or the other. And some people are more tipped into emotionally liking to repeat this old pattern maybe forever, and other people could have, but then it starts to seem confusing and they wonder why they're not happy staying in that job, that friendship, doing these same things that they always do over and over and over again. And it's because we weren't meant to do things over and over and over again. We were given our creativity, our imagination, our fiery nature to believe in ourselves and challenge ourselves and believe I'm ready to go to the next phase of life. And like my nesting dolls over there, you shed an old layer of yourself to give birth to a new you. Like, I just view life differently. I learned lessons during this life experience. I'm now ready to move forward in life a little differently than I did before. It's like a baby, lays on the ground, and then it kind of learns to roll back and forth, and then eventually it gets up on its hands and knees, and then eventually it tries to walk. And I think, we're kind of supposed to have that spirit about us all our life. And some people are like, no, I got to a certain status or have a certain stability, I'm good. I have no interest in doing life any differently. It's like, and they might balance out their emotions about the fact that they keep choosing to live their life that way. But we have free will. And we can choose to keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over and never step out of our comfort zone if we want. And other people see the truth of it, so they decide to move on, offer themselves that cup of love. And then we have the Seven of Swords, which is also Aquarius energy. The Ace of Pentacles, which is about learning lessons in life, to have these new beginnings. I've worked through the things within myself that could have made me keep repeating that old pattern. And I have already found it confusing, and maybe shadowy Seven of Cups can be, I kind of find it emotionally shallow and superficial. It's just like, who wants to keep living life and acting and hanging out with people who act like 15-year-olds? Was it great when we were first 15 and we thought we were living the dream life? Yeah, we were, and it was appropriate. We were 15. But to keep turning your back on becoming more like an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old, it starts to not have the same thrill that it did, right? And so people look at it, it's like, why don't I move forward in life differently? Well, it's because I'm confused and I'm fearful. And so then they work through the fears and insecurities they have to love and believe in themselves, to offer themselves that cup of love, that even though they have mental conflicts, which is what the Seven of Swords can talk about. In a typical Seven of Swords card, the person is holding the 5 swords, and the 5, the 6, and the 7 are all Aquarius energy. I did have a dream. I went and pursued living my life that way, because that's how I viewed life at that time. But I do, in the 2 of Swords that are usually there with the person holding the 5 swords, I could stay where I'm at, but I think it's because I'm afraid of making a decision, and I don't really maybe know what my truth is. And eventually people work through that, and they listen to their intuition that if I'm feeling maybe like it is an imbalanced relationship, that someone is kind of being a little egotistical or a little controlling or a little bossy or likes a more codependent relationship. I might have liked a more codependent relationship at one point too. But, as time goes by, aren't we going to have a more just and fair and balanced relationship and move forward together, facing our fears together? And with some of the people, we do that, and we move into our relationship growing and maturing as we grow and mature. But some people somewhere along the line kind of drop off because they're not willing to invest in maybe detaching from some old ways of viewing life. And then it can be that they can be confused about why you're still not caught up in that same dream. It's like, well, that was my dream at one time, but then I was hoping, that we were going to grow into a more deep, meaningful relationship or a more just and fair relationship. And some people are like, but I like more codependent relationships, or I like being more immature, or I like making my life more about the world. And I don't know why you're not still making your life about those things. And it's like, again, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And it's like, it was causing me mental conflict, and I could have fear about moving forward in life differently. But I think, my intuition was given to me as a gift to help me work through the emotional confusion, to be a signal that something's wrong here. This isn't aligned with my truth anymore. And if I need to quit certain habits or ways of living life, and if that means then I'm not going to be hanging out with certain people, I've got to listen to my intuition, because it's like my soul calling me forward, right? So then we have the 2 of Wands, and then we have the 9 of Wands. And from the 2 to the 9 is taking back the 7 of Wands. And the 7 of Wands can be where we had been moving forward in something in the 6 of Wands that we thought we were motivated and inspired by, victorious and successful. And in the 7 of Wands, we were defending it. But if we're trying to move forward in life and we want other people to move forward with us in high vibe energy, truth, love, justice, fairness, having hope and faith and belief in ourselves and together and each other and in our dreams. And if we're in a relationship with someone who we could have been very patient with, but they turn their back because that's not their philosophy of life, we know if we kind of keep staying in it, we've already seen that, we can't make someone else add a new way of viewing life into their philosophy of life. If they don't want to, they'll keep rejecting it. That's not my truth. That's not my truth. And so then we could kind of realize that our dreams were different. And the high vibe people are willing to work through some of their inner conflict and fears. Got an alarm on my phone. Because they have a dream and they want to invest in their dream. And the dream is about closing out a cycle. We live our life at a certain phase of life. It's how we view life. But then part of the reason we might stay in it is just more out of fear. I don't like fear manipulating me, or codependency, or whatever. I do have a dream. And if the way I was living my life, the people I was kind of hanging out with, the job I was in, whatever, that they keep defending and still aligned with this way of living life, but it's not my truth. I can't keep defending something, as we grow up, we view ourselves differently, we view the world differently, how we view relationships we view differently. That I'm not the same person I was before. And I've changed, and some people don't want people to change because they don't change. I want to keep doing this. You should have stayed like that. It's like, well, I don't stay like frozen in time forever. You might like to stay frozen in time, but I keep being inspired to kind of go to the next phase of life and face my fears about doing so. Because the nines can talk about you're getting close to completing a cycle. And when we quit defending, and so, you have to get out of your ego to even be willing to admit, maybe I have some lessons learned. Maybe I have some healing and growing and maturing to do. Why am I not investing in my dreams? When did I become defensive? That I was willing to defend certain ways of living life and hanging out with certain people and certain jobs. Why do I defend that? Is it in alignment with my truth and in alignment with my dreams? And, I think when we're younger, we can all be more caught up in doing what seems logical and practical, air sign energy, living from the mind and conforming to the world. And kind of in our fire sign energy, which Sagittarius could be our more immature, fiery energy. Why am I not more inspired to stand up for myself and love and believe in myself and really believe in my dreams? When did I get so caught up and manipulated by the world? And I'm no longer going to defend. That's not the most important thing. Being in deep, meaningful, authentic, loving relationships is what makes it all worthwhile. And I'm not willing to settle for an illusion. And if the people in my life kind of have these illusions about what it means to work together with other people, and they have their own idea of what's just and fair, and they might think everybody should just balance out their emotions about how they want to live their life, and it's like, no, you go find people who are more on the same page as that, because I found out that's not my truth. And even though I have fears, and I'm gonna keep investing in believing in my dreams and keep, from between the 2 and the 9 of wands is the 3 of wands, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8. I'm going to do this work within myself, high vibe Virgo energy, to work through the fact that I'm letting go of like an old way of viewing life and things I might have looked to make me feel better, and all they did was confuse me, or being in relationships with people who maybe tried to confuse me or manipulate me or oppress me or intimidate or control me. And this whole process could have been about learning to stand up for yourself. And we'll be drawn and attracted to people for whatever reasons we are, but it's all can be part of getting us to where we need to be. What are the lessons I learned from that life experience? And if I hadn't been in that life experience, I maybe wouldn't have worked through these issues. It maybe wouldn't have forced me to work through these issues, to stand up for myself and be more inspired to believe in myself and believe in my dreams. And now, high vibe people could have still been hoping they could have distanced themselves from some people. And it's, being patient is what the Temperance card talks about. But again, it's kind of like I'm ready to give birth to a new life. And I would like these people, some of these people in my life, to move forward with me in this way. But if they aren't like being just or fair or investing in me, or they might want to move forward with me, but they want to be defensive or be more about themselves. It's like, no, that's not the kind of relationship I want. Eventually it kind of gets to be where we're ready to let go of the defensiveness, because after the 9 and the 10, you come out with the Ace of Wands. I am ready for that new beginning. And it can all take time to work through the emotional confusion of some things that didn't work out. And that's kind of what high vibe people do. I'm not going to just, I have an idea. This, something didn't work out. Something isn't going the way I want. It's causing me inner conflict, mental conflict. I know, I'm just going to go get in a relationship with someone else or go indulge in these things to make myself feel better. Well, we didn't really work through the issues that were there that made us kind of get in the last situation we were in. And high vibe people don't want to repeat that old pattern. So they do this work within themselves to emotionally be work to be detached from it so they can go have this new beginning. And they are like Scorpio is also represented by the death card. It's like they did do the work within themselves to emotionally work through those things so they could let those things go. They learned the lesson they were meant to learn from that whole life experience. Like, I maybe do need to have better boundaries. I do need to learn to speak my truth. Not let people try to maybe intimidate or control me. Realize that there's people out there who try to confuse people about the truth of who they are, because some people can wear a false mask like, oh, I harness high vibe Virgo energy. I'm insightful, self-aware, stable, grounded. Oh, I want to, you should hire me, you should date me, you should marry me. I'm this stable, grounded, emotionally mature person. That's my dream too. And then you get in a relationship with them and you find out they're defensive to being in a more deep, meaningful relationship. And it's like, well, I want to have a new beginning with you because it makes it look like I've moved on, like I've changed, I've healed, I've grown, I've matured, but they haven't. And then it finally gets to the point where, are we going to do and have this new beginning? We've went through the phase of getting to know each other and working together with long enough. Are we really going to kind of bring the more kind of the dream that was promised? And then it's like, oh, no, aren't you going to keep working here forever? And, you know, all the things that we promised are never going to come into reality. And it's more confusing. Well, it can be hard, I guess, if you're in a job that you really thought you were going to work your way up at, and you feel like you've done that, but it keeps not happening. And it's like, you're kind of like ready to move forward with it, and other people are kind of defensive to it. And then it's kind of like, we're defending different truths. And I didn't know until we got further along, as we were kind of moving forward, that your idea of how you thought this was going to play out and my idea of how I thought this was going to play out are different. And what you think is just and fair and what I think is just and fair. And eventually people become independent of those situations and they do this work within themselves to then, you know, they go apply for a different job or they go start hanging out with some different people in their life, right? But in high vibe, it's being truthful and honest and authentic, treating other people the way you like to be treated. Some more shadowy people might try to stop other people in their life from seeing the truth. Well, those were loving and encouraging people, but they wanted me to be more just and fair. I have a problem with that. They have a different way of viewing life, and I don't want people to know that maybe I'm more bossy or controlling or superficial or shallow or intimidating or egotistical. So I'll try to confuse people about the truth about why I didn't move forward with them, right? Okay, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio, no, high vibe Virgo energy that they might not see coming up? Okay, felt like we had a card flip. Yep. The Queen of Wands. Why? Because of the Emperor and the Nine of Cups. So, the Queen of Wands, the queens can talk about how we think and feel. And the masculine figures can represent the action that we're taking in the world and how we're presenting ourselves in the world, because that's considered masculine energy. And again, anybody can present themselves any way they want to in the world, but we have to really kind of get to know them to find out what really drives and motivates them and what they think and feel. Some high vibe people took action to walk away in the Eight of Cups from the Seven of Cups. There was maybe some people in their life who harness their Aries energy in a shadowy way, and their Scorpio energy, and their Sagittarius, and their air sign energy, and their Taurus energy. And some people decided, I think you create an illusion about who you are. I don't think you're going to bring, I don't think we're on the same page. I think our truth is different. You know, shadowy energy and shadowy Taurus can be, I want to invest my time, energy, and effort into having these things of the world. I want to be in a relationship, maybe to be in a relationship. I want to be in a job or relationship for the money or the status or the ego or the image, or to confuse people about the truth of who I am, maybe to try to manipulate someone else. But it's not based on truth and love. And that's when some people are like, you know, you create the illusion, and that's why I thought you were a counterpart to me. Because in a lot of ways, they could have been very stable and grounded and seemed to act with character and integrity, and you know, you thought your dreams were going to come into reality there, and for a long time, you know, it could have seemed like it. But then as things kept moving forward, it was this defensiveness to them being willing to walk away more from being caught up in the illusion of themselves, thinking it should be more about them, or caught up in the illusion of the world, and that's more the driving factor in their life. And you realize that was more what drove and motivated them. And in your fire sign energy and your emotional nature and your air sign energy and your worldly nature of the Pentacles, you're more about being more independent in the world. Let's go live our authentic life based on truth and love. We put in work and effort into the same things we've probably been putting work and effort into having stability and security, but it's more about the fact that it's supposed to be doing these things and being in these things and working on these things and being in a relationship together because of love and being just and fair, treating other people the way we like to be treated. And that's when you kind of realize what they kind of find emotionally fulfilling is different than what you find emotionally fulfilling. And what drives and motivates them is different. And doing all that work to work through that emotional confusion, and Leo energy of the Queen of Wands is shedding light on it. Virgo energy is bringing things into the light to see the truth of it, so we're not living in denial. And we offer love to it. I deal with the truth of what is, and I offer love to it so I don't stay in illusion. And if there's other people in my life that I would have liked to move forward with, but that they're turning their back to that idea or that truth, then I don't keep staying in mental conflict about this dream I had. I get out of my ego. And the 2 to the 9 is the 7 of Wands, which is Leo energy. To get out of my ego about it, I accept the truth for what it is. I am not the boss. I can't make people view life differently than they view it. And God has given everybody free will. And everybody's on their own journey. Everybody has their own lessons to learn. And my dreams aren't codependent on certain people in my life. My dream is kind of more dependent on working with people who are more on the same page as me. And if I've seen the truth that some of the people that I wanted to have move forward with me aren't interested in bringing that dream into reality, then I've worked through the emotional confusion and the past pain and heartbreak to see the truth of it and love and believe in myself and go back out there. And then from the 9 of Cups down to the 7 of Cups, no longer aligning with an old way of viewing life, and as you work through it, kind of no longer aligning with some of those people anymore. And as you keep standing up for more what you believe in and they keep doing what they believe in, you kind of realize as time keeps going by and you work through the illusion of it that they're not maybe really who you thought they were, and you become independent of it, and you learn to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you, to let go of that situation and ready to have a new beginning. And I think as you're moving forward, the fire sign energy can mean that you're in very attractive energy. Emperor, you're making really good decisions in your life. Queen of Wands, you're listening to your intuition, you're motivated and inspired by truth and love and being more independent. And there's other people in the world that are kind of in some mismatched relationships of their own or have dealt with that they've kind of been waiting for other people to come up the stream of life to get out of these more mismatched relationships, and they've been waiting for someone to come along that's more on the same page as them. And both the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands are holding the one wand. We have both completed a cycle. Whatever it was and a way of living life and viewing life that we used to be caught up in, we kind of worked through it, learned the lesson we were meant to learn from it, and we're ready to move forward in a more emotionally mature way, more bold and brave and confident and more emotionally mature maybe and healed than we were before. And we're ready to kind of go, not repeat this old pattern, but move forward to go to the next phase of life where we let love and intuition guide us. Where maybe before we did let the world more influence our decisions. We could have been more codependent. We could have been letting all these outside influences and people and the world tell us how we should live our life. And it's like, we're going to go live our authentic life. The world can judge away. And the whole thing is the world judges you anyway based on the type of person they are. I'm going to go out in the world, treat people the way I like to be treated. It makes me feel good to be loving and encouraging and treat people the way I like to be treated. And I'm going to go find other people in the world who want to do that versus the people who is like, oh my gosh, but you're not wearing this and you're not acting like this. And oh my goodness, you hung out with those people instead of these people. And I don't know if you can do enough for my ego or my image. It's like, yeah, we're not on the same page. So you go find someone else to go be in a relationship with. I'm looking for people who want to be in authentic relationships and more independent. And I think there's other people that are going to want to move forward with you. And you just need to listen to your intuition about who's who, because there's always going to be shadowy people in the world who wants to be the next shadowy person to indulge in a relationship with you. But you have learned to stand up for yourself and temper your own ego nature to get to know people, to learn what their truth is about what drives and motivates them. And the people who aren't on the same page as you, you're going to, they stay in the friend zone and you're going to keep moving forward. The people who seem to have done some of the same work as you are people you're going to move forward with. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy? The devil. Why? Because of the death to the Ace of Pentacles. The whole thing is we've all got lessons to learn in life, and that's kind of when the devil comes into our life. It's like we can be offered a gift. Up here we have the Ace of Pentacles also. And we have to listen to our intuition. What is aligned with my truth? What is tempting me more in my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego, my self-indulgent, immature nature? And if I give in to that temptation and I'm not willing to see the truth, well, I'm going to go another round not moving forward in life any differently. There will not be a new opportunity because we have free will. We're going to have different people in our life and that we meet. Some people are more aligned with our high vibe nature, hopeful, believing, just, fair, loving, encouraging. We're going to have people in our world who want us to be more immature, prideful, defensive, egotistical, superficial, shallow, and hang out with them. And we have to work through the emotional confusion of who do I think is more authentic, wants me to heal and grow and mature myself, and have good boundaries within myself, and who are the people in my life who might want to stop me from having good boundaries within myself and loving and believing in myself because they want to be in a relationship with me, but only if I am not defending the truth that love is supposed to be just and fair, or that it's supposed to be about love. And some people have not learned that lesson yet, so they're going to keep not investing in the truth. And the devil can mean that there's people in their life who are attracted to them. The devil can just be someone too who challenges someone's philosophy of life. And they're like, nope, I'm not going to invest in your philosophy of life because you want me to move forward in life being more bold and brave and confident and more independent, or do a deep, meaningful relationship where I get hurt. I am not willing to do that. So as they keep not investing in truth and love and balancing out their own emotions, the people in their life who have been very patient with them, eventually those people are going to stop investing in them because they see the truth. My dream's never going to come into reality here. And I'm going to move forward and go invest in people who I do think are more independent of their fear and their insecurity or their immature nature or their prideful nature or their more materialistic nature. Or other people they're codependent on. I'm going to move on and go have a new beginning. And then these people will be angry because people weren't just willing to balance out their emotions and indulge them in their poor behavior. And because they kind of make decisions more out of ego and fear and codependency and lust and greed, they're going to keep rejecting the truth. And they're going to keep repeating this old pattern. And they keep thinking it's going to work out the way they want. And it might get worse and worse because when some people, what is it that people are looking to? The devil can represent these things of the world. The death card can be, it's not investing in abundant, like fruitful things, like good soil to plant your life in, good thoughts, good emotions. They keep rejecting that truth and keep thinking, no, I can do it this way, and this is the most important way, and I'm sure this will work out the way I want. They might end up looking very successful in the world and having status or image or whatever in the world, but they'll have those things of the world. There will be no truth and love there, maybe no justice, no fairness. Because some of the other people that are willing to keep staying in a relationship with them are also driven and motivated by those things. And it's not love. And, the people, and then they might be mad because sometimes shadowy people, it's like, well, I want to be immature and bossy and controlling and prideful and egotistical and self-centered. But the devil wants loving, creative, inspired people to be in a relationship with them. And the loving, creative, more inspired people moved on. And that's what they don't see coming, is the people who are willing to maybe keep indulging them in this energy could be other people that have their own ulterior reasons for staying in it. They could be very fearful and codependent. They could be intimidating and controlling, like, you're not going anywhere. If you used to think that you could be in a relationship and that you could be like this immature person, oh, think again. There's always other people too, like bigger fish in the sea. Like these people might think, oh, I can control and manipulate people. Well, there's other people in the world looking for people just like them. Huh. You had loving, encouraging people and you didn't move forward with them. Interesting. So you really kind of are more about ego and image and money. Perfect. And Capricorn, doesn't mean they're dealing with Capricorn, but they could be dealing and get in a relationship with someone who they think, oh my gosh, if I get in a relationship with this person, I will look like a shining star. I will have those things of the world that I value. Well, they might get in a more shadowy Taurus energy then. The other person might think, yes, I too think, I think like you think, but I have more of those things of the world that you want. So now you have to balance out your emotions about being in a relationship with me. And I'm kind of more like the boss, and you're more like the child in the relationship. Where before it could have been the other way around. So, kind of what goes around comes around. And some of the people who thought because I have a certain status and image, I can be kind of bossy and controlling and intimidating. I had the free will to detach and see that was not just and fair and loving behavior. And I could have moved forward with some high vibe people, but I didn't. So now they're going to repeat an old pattern, but for some, they're either repeating that same pattern with someone else, or now the roles might be flipped. And maybe that will be the thing. I sometimes think it'd be funny to be a fly on the wall when you kind of see that happen in people's lives, where you knew someone at one time and the way they acted and behaved, and then they kind of get in a relationship with someone later, and that person is now kind of the person living their life like that. And you just kind of wonder if it dawns on them when certain words and phrases come out of their mouth, that words coming out of their mouth are the same words that used to come out of other people's mouth to them. And then it's like, ding, 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 ding. Like, well, I didn't act like that. It's like, yeah, you did. No. And they can keep staying in denial of the truth, but, sometimes you wonder what it would be like if you could be there when they kind of have a light bulb moment of like, oh my, because it's just like any of us, that we can do certain things, and until we see someone else doing it. I know when I was in college, I went through a really big phase where the F word was just seemed like such a good descriptive word. It was like every third word, in a sentence. And I apparently wasn't hanging out with people that were saying it as much as I was. And then I was out one night, and there was a gal kind of sitting by me. I didn't know her. She was sitting with some other people, but she was really using it a lot. And I thought it was kind of funny because, like, well, that sounds like me over there. And I turned over and I kind of looked at her, and I just seeing her doing it. And I just thought, ooh, it's one thing when it comes out of your face, yourself, but seeing someone else do it, it just seemed really, I don't know, crass and vulgar. And so then that kind of made me think I needed to curb my using it when I was able to see someone else doing it. And same way, if somebody were to hear people say maybe some of the same things that they generally say to people, if they're kind of rude or condescending, maybe they'd notice it if they noticed other people doing it. But anyway, well, we'll leave it there. I think high vibe people have worked through emotionally some things that were confusing. They've worked through their defensiveness, and they're ready to have these new beginnings. And as they move forward in that energy, I think there's going to be other people who see the truth of it, who also want to move forward with you. And the people who keep refusing the truth, if some people are in a relationship, they are the other people could be getting out of it. Other people are going to keep moving in it because it has those things of the world that they want. But regardless, they're going to go another round with the devil to try to get them to see the truth. Because high vibe energy wants everybody to be free. But they have free will. And if they choose to not grow or heal and mature themselves, they might get more selfish, more greedy, more bossy, more controlling, more fearful, more insecure. because they're not. It's just kind of the way shadowy energy works, just like an addiction. It becomes our go-to that we think is the answer, and it becomes more and more thinking it's the answer, even in the face that this isn't working out for me. No, that's the answer, because I don't want to see the truth that there's things I should walk away from. And thinking I'm the boss, maybe, and I don't have to change. So there you go, Virgo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.